Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing good and enjoying your day so far. 1 week on for the World Championship, but the drama is not going away. Civ made a point on stream several months ago when Huke was still in challenges that if he was to get to the league and go to LAN, it wouldn't end especially well at the end of the year. Huke is now the world champion, but Civ, it seems, still doubling down on this perspective to some extent, saying that, yeah, well done Huke, but you were playing with the 3+ players in a game at the end of the season. So much reaction as well as the players start to get into some practice again going into the Esports World Cup. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Plenty to start with. We're going to start here. Some of these guys are at the Challengers, well, were at the Challengers World Championship, and some of them will be out there in Riyadh for the World Cup as well. Plenty of these players on Omit, right, at some point this season anyway. Plenty of those guys went up to the league. This is what, I think it was, well, CDC Intel put this together, got a load of people to vote in it, and this is the voting and the numbers and everything that came through. So you can see that Craze was actually voted the best Challengers player by a little bit of a margin. Now, of course, this would have been different had Huke stayed in Challengers the whole year, had Neptune stayed in Challengers the whole year. You know what I'm saying. But Craze was an interesting player this year, especially because this guy was on like every team where somebody got picked up. And there were even rumours recently that, okay, Vivid Mac, they were both in the league this year. They came down to Challengers. They teamed with Craze and Mumba at the end of the year, won Major 4, won the Challengers World Championship. Mumba was rumoured to be potentially getting picked up by Toronto. That didn't happen. Abe got picked up instead. He was voted number 14 on this list, but it could have been Mumba. So again, those two guys are going to be out there in Riyadh very shortly, as is Afro, we think, playing for the Ravens. That's not been confirmed yet, but he was killing it this year in Challengers in Europe. Never really got the results internationally that probably his ability on this game deserved, but we are at least, I think, going to get to see him at the World Cup on the Ravens. That's kind of exciting. Brax, Stanley, Yuli, Prolute, some names that are going to be out there in Riyadh. F. Dot is going to be on Afro's team, we think, if Ravens confirm what we think they're going to confirm, which is Slasher, Afro, F. Dot and Cobra. That's actually a really exciting team to look at. Maybe it's not going to be that good, but it's just nice to see some players that we haven't seen too much of before playing against some other pros, or even with some other pros. Mythics, Eric Boom, Diamondcon, Harry, Cobra, A, Bant, Neum, who is actually going to be competing there because with Diamondcon going to LAG, with the change they made to FeLo, that means Neum stepped into the Team War roster with 2 Real and Assault, etc, etc. You guys know the drill. So just wanted to quickly look at that. This is also interesting though. So we talked yesterday, Shotzzy versus Simp, all-time greatest CDL player. I think it has to be, realistically speaking, between these two. As I said yesterday, you might be able to make the argument for Kenny as well, but realistically, I think most people would say that the battle for the CDL GOAT over the last 6 seasons is between these two individuals, Shotzzy and Simp. Now this is CDL only. Keep in mind that Simp played a year prior, or at least half a year prior to Shotzzy coming in, so he won 2 events on a United, including Champs of course, at the end of 2019. But since 2020, this is what the numbers look like. Now, it is interesting to look at this because, as we said yesterday, given Shotzzy's recent success and having the 3 World Championship rings, in my opinion, it's kind of hard not to say that Shotzzy has been the greatest player of the Call of Duty League, especially because he was also the MVP of the first season as well. And when you take MVPs into account, which these cards don't necessarily, you know, obviously Simp was Mr. MVP too, so I'm not really sure what it looks like in terms of MVPs. Now, Simp has won more events in this period than Shotzzy has. It's 11-8. Of course, all time it's what, 13-8, I suppose. Although you might say, well, Shotzzy won in Halo, but that's not Call of Duty stuff. Series win-loss, average placing, grand finals numbers, event wins, LAN head-to-head, total head-to-head, all go to Simp, which shouldn't really be a massive surprise. I think Simp's biggest asset in this conversation, even in the CDL, but even maybe all time, is the fact that almost always he's in the finals, and that is like incredibly commendable, and I think deserves a lot of credit as well, right? The fact that he made 24 grand finals in the CDL, was almost always there on the Sunday, you know, very rarely not there, but of course the last 2 years World Championships, and even the last 3 years World Championships, not been in the final, so there is that to discuss, and of course the last couple of years bombed out top 6. And then people will look at, understandably, the win rate in finals. And this is maybe, yeah, if you want to give Simp his credit because he's been like a top 5 player almost every year, which is very, very unprecedented in COD history, and you want to give him his credit because he's almost always there on the Sunday and in the finals, the one stat that does really hold him back is the event wins compared to the grand finals, right? Like, the ratio of victories in finals is not good enough. Like, let's be honest, compared to the other top players ever. You want to compare, you know, Simp to Scump and have these type of conversations. Sure, it's a convo that you can maybe have at some point, but Scump's win rate in finals and, you know, the Dynasty's win rate in finals and all of the top players ever, you know, they were winning 75+% of their grand finals. Whereas for Simp, it's been, you know, in the CDL era, less than 50%, which is tough to, you know, it's tough to look at that and put him right in the conversation with the greatest ever, because that level of execution does matter. And let's be real, for Shotzzy, yeah, he's made 14 finals, won 8 of them. It's not an incredible ratio, but in terms of execution, you know, he's made 3 World Championship grand finals in the last 6 years. He's won every single one of them, right? So, you know, it's a debate. It's a debate, and that's what we're here for at the end of the day. So dread your thoughts in a comment. Now let's move on from iLLeY, but I wanted to mention it because everyone was getting back involved last night. 8 were back underway. Drazah was playing, Kremp was playing, iLLeY was in there, Sib was in there. Drazah, of course, playing for FaZe, still going into the World Cup. After the World Cup, who knows what's going to be happening there. Cloud9 have made a change, but it's Kremp, it's Sib, Capsidal is gone, Gwinn is coming in instead, and then Spart is still there. So that's their team of 4 going into the World Cup. They do have a pretty difficult group there, it's got to be said. But a couple of clips that I wanted to share for you all. So Drazah was talking about the OpTic situation. I actually thought this painted Drazah in a pretty good light. Of course, you know, the FU Drazah chants are always flying around every tournament that happens. But still, I thought this was pretty nice from Drazah to say, look, at the end of the day, those guys were due their victory. Congratulations to them for doing so. And I thought it was, you know, it was a pretty nice perspective here that Drazah gave on the whole situation, not too frustrated about it after the fact or talking any kind of trash. The same could not be said for the man right at the end of this clip, and that of course is Dante Sib. Now, he plays for the Cloud9 team as it stands, and he's been a pretty controversial player even before he was in the league. I don't know if you guys remember what happened back at MW19 when he was on the FaZe Academy, or he was certainly like the FaZe substitute when he was going by Sibilance, right? That's what people used to call him back then. And, well, you know, he had a couple of moments on stream that got him dropped from FaZe, and then he was back again, and I remember making a video about it at the time. Then it took him a couple of years, he got into the league, and he's been an excellent player since then. But this year has been pretty rough. What is the unicorn doing? Look, this game is so cooked, man. Whatever. So, anyway, Sim's back in the league. He's done particularly well. This year was not so pretty for him, right? We know that his numbers were not so strong, especially at the start of the year. Seemed like he figured things out, and at times he was still a real top slayer who has, you know, let's not forget, he was linked to OpTic not that long ago. Like, I'm sure that Sib feels some type of way about it, because I think Sib has said, hasn't he, that OpTic would maybe be his dream org. I don't know, I think he has said that, and that would be no surprise, because it's kind of true for everyone, but especially when Pred was there and there was talk about, okay, Kenny, it's time to go, maybe the numbers aren't looking so good, could they have brought in Sib? Now with Mercules coming in, like, that's not going to be happening, right? Mercules is not going anywhere, and neither are Shotzzy and Dashy, and as, you know, we keep saying if Simp is on the market, you at least have the conversation, but, you know, more than likely that OpTic team should stick it out going forward unless they have a horrific time at a couple of weeks out in Riyadh. So Sib, I don't know, he's obviously feeling some type of way about this, and a few months ago, there was a clip that came out. This was back in, I'm just let me see when this clip was originally from. Yeah, November, right? So this is actually last year when Huke was down in challenges and he was firing some shots. I remember talking about it at the time. Kyler's just going to go to LAN and go 20 and 45. Well, little did Sib know that Huke leveled up massively as a player this season, because, yeah, at the time, what Sib was saying felt a little bit unnecessarily harsh, but, you know, there was some logic in this, in the sense that we've seen Huke before killing it online and then goes to LAN and it's not quite the same story. This year, though, Huke turned up massively, delivered a great LAN performance almost every single time, was for a good period OpTic's best player this whole year. His comms were improved drastically, his decision-making was improving drastically, and look, maybe going into the season, it's understandable that people didn't see it coming, that Huke could deliver a performance like this, but he did, and he was critical to OpTic winning the World Championship this year, but Sib is not so convinced.
Bro, this guy's the best, bro. He's literally the best. Somebody pick him up, please, bro. Somebody. Bro, look at the other team. Look at the other team.
7:30.
Isn't he on the team? Oh, you're talking about Kyler?
Oh,
yeah.
Kyler's just gonna go to LAN and go 20 and 45.
Jesus Christ.
Fine, bro. Can have his 8th glory.
But you think when they scrim, he's like fucking just annihilating everyone too? Just running?
Yeah, 100%. Because challengers know how to fucking play against that type of playstyle. Oh my god, he's on my face again, dude. Fuck, man. Huke, man.
What are you saying, dude?
I just go home early these days, I guess.
What's actually going on? How are you getting around?
You know what? I gotta download.
They're
just a lot of bees, fun. I gotta download it in there.
What?
Brandon only wins events I don't go to.
Bro, Brandon.
No, I'm not even trolling.
Brandon only wins champs that I don't go to.
Pretty sure Brandon only wins tournaments when I lose to him.
It's so much harder when I'm fucking there. I swear.
Anytime I lose to OpTic, they are champions. I'm like, nice. Like, god damn it.
Thank you.
God damn it. I lose.
Stop dying to them, dude.
I think I've lost 4 times. I'm pretty sure they won the last 4 I lost.
Yeah, Shotzzy flanked me again. 2 in the back. 1.
I'm like, god damn it.
Oh,
Fuck.
thank you, man.
They were due. They were due. Fuck champions. God damn it.
But like that, that's not the right time to be due, bro. Like,
Bro, Kyler
No,
was in
no.
the fucking, bro, Kyler
That was not
in
the greatest
fucking
time to be
game.
due.
Like, Kyler was fighting for his life, bro. He
Nah,
gets back on form.
Yeah, I'm just off.
Bro, he has the 3 best players in the world on his team.
Bro, that's when I was.
Yeah, I'm just off.
Bro, he has the 3 best players in the world on his team.
Bro, that's when I was.
So the comment on Civ to say, look, he was playing with the 3 best players in the game, it is what it is. Now, look, I don't think that's necessarily a fair comment, given that without Huke, I don't think they would have got to that position. He was a critical part of their World Championship run. And yeah, Shotzzy, Dashy, Mercules all played very well, and Mercules was a key factor in them turning this team around. But was Huke not also a very key factor too? Like, if you swapped out Huke for another SMG, let's say a middle of the pack SMG, you know, a decent slaying, you know, let's say someone like a Gwinn, like Shotzzy would ever do that, but you know what I'm saying, someone in that kind of category, would they have done anywhere near as well? Would they have been carried to the chip as Sib seems to think that Huke was? Not in my opinion, right? And the team has given him so much credit for this as well. I think of the OpTic guys after the tournament, a lot of the credit and probably most of the credit has gone to Mercules, because without him, none of this is really possible and the turnaround that they made. But still, from JP, from Karma, from the rest of the guys to say, you know, like, he lives and breathes COD, there's nobody comparable to Huke right now, and the amount of credit that he got for putting in serious work going into this championship, watching all the VOD, and we talked about it when Shotzzy said in that podcast a little while ago that yeah, they're frying in scrims, but also that the team was putting in work, and Huke said that yeah, I'm not really playing much more COD, I'm getting in quality practice during the day, and then I'm just sitting there watching VOD for the rest of the night, and like that goes to show the type of player that Huke is, but also has turned into over these last few months or so that got them to this point. So yeah, it's just people are reading into this quite a lot, aren't they? Because they're looking at what Civ has to say and saying, damn, you know, this guy's so salty or whatever, that team won and now they're not going to sign him, or whatever you think. I don't know. We'll see what happens at the World Cup rather shortly, but I like that Civ's going to give his perspective, right? Like, he's doubling down. It's the same with the 04 thing and the whole little man drama. Like, Huke was calling Huke out at the start of the season, and Huke then has an absolute masterclass of a year, and he's still talking trash at him, which on some level you always have to respect that level of commitment to the bit. But I suppose it is what it is. So intrigued to your perspective on that in the comments section below. And where do we go from here? Because OpTic have now won 2 World Championships in a row. Huke was there for 2, well, he was there for 2 of these on this list, because he also won back in 2020 with the Dallas Empire team. What this graphic is showing is that this is the first time ever in Call of Duty League history that the team that has won the World Championship was different at the end of the year to what it was at the start. Kind of remarkable that's never happened before, at least in the CDL. All of these teams were the same. Even Thieves, yeah, they made some changes. They brought in Shane as a coach. They changed around the roles, but it was the same roster of 4 they had since the start of the year. The same in New York, despite their major mid-season slump in 2023. OpTic last year, of course, were in a similar boat. They were struggling at times, then they turn it around, and this was the first ever OpTic team. The level of resilience they showed, you know, the amount of drama, right? And I think that's why Huke deserves so much credit, is because without a player and a personality like Huke on the team, I don't think it would have been possible for them to deliver this type of performance, right? For them to stay as level-headed as they did. And Huke is just so unflappable that all of the drama, him getting dropped and him coming back in didn't affect him. And for 99% of other players, that would have affected them. So, yeah, Pred was there, then he was gone, then he was back, then he was gone. Skies was in, then he was gone. Getty was in, and then he was gone. And then Mercules came in. Like, what an absolute mess. But it all worked out in the end. So, remember to through to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.